Welcome back to Quake and the very last level of the game. It's time to face Shub Niggurath and save the world. So, no pressure. Now, in the last episode we completed episode 4 to my great relief. Those were definitely some of the tougher levels in the game. A lot of them were very sort of labyrinthine and confusing, and there was almost a kind of survival horror vibe to them. Lots of darkness and jump scares and general creeping dread, none of which is really my cup of tea. A lot of traps as well. So yeah, really not a fan of episode 4. I can see that there is merit to those levels if you're into that sort of thing, but personally I am not. I did a bit of sort of debrief research and found out that all except the first level in that episode were designed by the same person, one Sandy Peterson. So I think we can conclude that Sandy Peterson is a psychopath who was put on this earth solely to torment me. Now, weirdly, what comes next I'm actually a lot more familiar with than the whole of episodes 2 to 4. I've certainly played it more times, and I knew these stairs were here before I ever got the full game. How, you might ask, given that they don't reveal themselves until you've completed all 4? The answer is through the glory of noclip. I've mentioned before that initially when I played the shareware version of this game I used cheats, and one of the cheats on the list I was given was noclip, which basically it switches off collisions and therefore allows you to walk through walls and break the confines of the map. And that was, you know, when I was 13, 14. I had a lot of spare time to dick around with things like that, so I knew these stairs were here because, well, actually, in fact, let's just do a quick. If I just start a new game, we can come out of this. Yes. Very slow moving console. Now if we just head straight through, see, look, here's the floor, but if we bring down the very slow moving console, do no clip on, then you can see we can just walk through the walls. And here, hold on, go down, you can see there are stairs going down to a room. So yeah, I played around with the shareware version and thought, hold on, what's this? What's going on here? And I would drop down in there, and then the game would, I think it would crash to desktop, or just freeze, or I can't remember what happened, but it was that was the end of that. Because obviously the shareware version did not include the final level. If you're already well versed in the gentle art of noclip, by the way, feel free to skip ahead to the carnage. Something else that all that messing around with noclip revealed is that on levels with enemies that spawn in, if you noclip outside, actually, if I just load, I think the pain maze. That had spawning spawns, didn't it? If you noclip outside, you will see somewhere, there should be, yeah, here we go, boxes, black boxes, and inside those boxes, did you hear that? There, yeah, it's in here somewhere. Oh shit, run away. Yeah, that's where the enemies that spawn in come from. They sort of just sit in there, and then when its spawn point is triggered, it will teleport there from that box, which is presumably so that all enemies can be loaded at the start rather than having the game freeze because it needs to load a shambler, which obviously wouldn't be an issue nowadays, but on PCs in the late 90s, when this game was the height of graphical sophistication, probably would. Other cheats while we're here. There's your good old-fashioned, let's get rid of noclip. There's God mode, which makes us invulnerable. You can slash at me all you want and nothing's going to happen. Then there is Impulse 9, which gives you all weapons and ammo. And what else? Oh, there's Fly, which is pretty obvious. You can fly. Whee! And anything else? Oh, there's Impulse 255, I think it is. Which, yeah, that gives you quad damage. And I think those are the only ones I know. There probably are other ones for other pickups, but I don't know what they are. These are all the ones that are on my list. Anyway, enough of such frivolity. Let's get back to where we were. Into the serious business of finishing this thing and venture forth into Shub Niggurath's lair. Now when I was noclipping there was a portal over there, but I don't know how you get to it. Anyway, I presume it just probably takes you back up to the start. So in we go. Okay, now straight away we've got some rotfish, which means we know the final kill count will not be accurate because of the rotfish glitch. Now the main thing I remember about this showdown is that it's pretty much wall-to-wall Vors and Shamblers. So heaviest weapons of the four really. Get some air. Is there actually? Oh yeah, okay, it opens that as well. Now here's a thunderbolt, which is cheeky, giving it to us underwater, given the auto switching, because if you fail to switch back to the shotgun before you pop out, you would probably instinctively just fire on the scrag and fry yourself. So that pod, that's important. Right, now straight away, rocket launcher, super nail gun. Tells you something really. And a wall. Just a wall. Some lava. And oh god, what is that thing? Not the shambler, the thing behind the shambler. That tentacled monstrosity. That is Shub Niggurath herself. In other depictions of the character that I've seen, she tends to have rather more tentacles, but I suppose graphical limitations and so on. 3 tentacles is all you get. Was that a telefrag I just saw? That's very handy. That saves me some work and some ammunition. Right, he's down. Something else just plopped down over there, I think. Another shambler. I did say Vors and shambler, that's a pod. Oh good, dodged it. Yeah, Vors and shamblers. Have I got enough? No, I haven't. Oh, crap. Do the old shambler 2-step. Right. Oh, another one. I think this is one of those levels where what you probably really want to be doing is moving forwards all the time so you can get ammunition, but stuck in a bit of a bottleneck here really. Oh, there's another one. And a Vor. Okay, well the Vor's down at least. So chalk that one up as an achievement. Try to reach for the thunderbolt, don't have one. Used up all my cells. Okay, now where's that health? There it is. Ooh, two boxes of health, that's handy. Okay. Now I've got another Vor over there, who has fired upon me and missed. She's down. Okay, so yeah, there we go. There is old Shub Signora herself. Bask in her magnificence. Fortunately, can't do anything. Can't hurt us. Now, I seem to remember, is it here that there's a... Yes, a spike that comes out the wall. Get some nails, which I don't mind if I do actually. Sort him out. That's into that. I think I've taken quite a lot of hit points off him, so it might be alright to wait till I get round there. That's what a Vor's head looks like. Nope, shit. Hi there. Yeah, okay, he was almost done. What we on? 18 out of 25. There were, was it 5 rotfish? So 23. 2 left. One of which might be Shub Niggurath. Not actually sure whether she counts. Now, okay. Firstly, here's a portal, which we're not going to go through. Down here is a ledge. And round here has to be the single most pointless pickup in the entire game. I mean, what's that for? Because, realistically, you're not going to get it until you've already taken all the enemies off the board. So why is it there? I suppose, in theory, you could try and charge around here in a reckless bid to pick up the quad damage and actually make use of it, but it's not really worth it given the damage you take on the way. Plus you'd have to leap nimbly down to this rather slender and somewhat precipitous ledge without falling into the roiling pool of lava while you're being fired upon by Vors and Shamblers. So why? What's it for? Unless it's a sneaky way of trying to make you think you can kill her by shooting at her, which, you know, she bleeds, so you might think you can. But I'm here to tell you, you cannot. Does nothing. Much like Thon, our good friend C.H. Thon. Christopher Henry Thon, as it says on his passport. His passport for interdimensional travel. Much like him, old Shub Halfpenny here can't be killed the normal way. Can't be done. Now I will say at this point, the first time I played this as a callow youth, it took me longer than I care to admit to work out how to do it. Which is basically, see this pod that's floating around? That is the exit to this portal. So wherever that pod is, when you go through that portal, that's where you'll come out. Which most of the time means you fall in the lava and you die. Rapidly and painfully. But, you may have seen just then, it passed straight through her, which seems like a glitch. But it's not. It's not a bug, it's a feature. Because, as it goes through her, there we are. Suddenly she has a terrible case of indigestion. Splat. Finally a use for that axe. And just a Vor, just out of nowhere. That is presumably a mistake. I have not seen that before. There were 2 left, weren't there? That should probably have popped up somewhere and it just didn't. Anyway, there we are. Some more slow text. If you're thinking, by the way, can't you just skip the text? Load it all at once? No, you would think that, wouldn't you? But no, you can't. Anyway, it's pretty short this time. This is the only time you see what Ranger actually looks like in single player, by the way. The Vor has died. Is that because she walked into my axe too many times? Anyway, congratulations. Congratulations and well done. You have beaten the hideous Shub Niggurath and her hundreds of ugly changelings and monsters. You have proven that your skill and your cunning are greater than all the powers of Quake. You are the master now. id Software salutes you. Thank you kindly. So there it is. We have finished Quake. Yeah, when I started, I was thinking I would breeze through episode 1. 2 to 4 would be a challenge because I wouldn't remember them that well. But it turned out I'd actually managed to forget even some of episode 1, and most of 2 to 4 had evaporated from my memory completely. And then there was that one secret level in episode 4 which was 100% new. So I was it ended up being a semi-blind playthrough on nightmare mode. Just a laugh. I'm also amazed the game even ran in the first place, because it's not the original, but it's Wind Quake, which I think came out like a year or two later. I think the original, if I remember rightly, was DOS, which would probably have required an emulator, but this just opened up straight from the folder, no problems at all, other than having to change the resolution every single time. But yeah, it's impressive that it ran given how old it is. So with that done, thoughts inevitably turn to where Quake ranks in the great pantheon of games. Were I in the habit of ranking games, which I'm not because I'm very bad at picking favourites, where would Quake be? Would I put it in my all-time top 10 games? Honestly, these days probably not. I've played a lot of great games since, and almost certainly 10 I'd prefer over this one. Most of them, to be fair though, were released after Quake, developed in times of much bigger budgets, better technology, higher expectations, etc. So if the question were would I put it in my top 10 games released before 1997, that might be a different story. Would I put it in my all-time top 10 most, let's say, formative games, as in the games that had the biggest impact on what you might somewhat painfully call my gaming career? In that case, maybe. Like I said in the very first video, it was my first FPS, which has to count for something, and I did spend a lot of hours on the shareware version when I should probably have been doing homework. It was also just a hugely influential game in general, so a lot of the other games I've enjoyed since probably owe their existence to Quake to a certain extent, as well as a lot of other games I haven't enjoyed. So in that respect, it probably does rank quite highly. I have enjoyed playing it. Episode 4, not so much. Wasn't a huge fan of episode 2 either, actually, but much of it has been good fun, and the rest has certainly been challenging, which is better than being too easy. So yeah, there it is. We are done. All that's left to say is thank you very much for watching, whether it's been just 1 or 2 episodes or the whole series. If the latter, congratulations on your stamina and perseverance. If you've just caught this one and have a strange and inexplicable compulsion to watch more, then see the channel for a handy playlist. Yeah, and I'm planning on doing something a bit more recent, but only a bit, for my next game. And it's something I know a lot better, so there should be a bit less fumbling around in the dark and getting lost. Possibly rather more steaming confidently into situations before realising I've made a grave error. So that's something to look forward to. It genuinely is for me, actually, because it's one of my favourite games. Yeah. Until then, this has been the Ludus Colony. I've been Colonel Mustard. Thank you for watching. Bye for now.